It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook.
You're listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network, a show that's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He refused to play hide and seek when he was a kid because he was too scared he would never be found. Pat Flynn.
All right, I think it's only fitting that I create an episode here that relates to the episode that I published 2 weeks ago, which was titled, 2 weeks from today, I'll be done. And it's 2 weeks since then, and in fact, I am done. Not done with this podcast. In fact, we have episode 700 coming up, which is a big deal. But I'm done with the event that I've been talking about over the course of the last 6 months in the Pokemon space, Card Party. And I'm back, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I could not be happier with how it all turned out. Now, it wasn't a perfect event, but for a first-year event, the feedback, the organization, even though I was stressed the whole time, it was all for good reasons, because I had things coming up or because, I had to scramble to create something, not because I was trying to fix anything or there were fires to put out. And I just wanted to share with you a few thoughts. And this is a great way for me to record just sort of what's on my mind, still kind of riding that high. I think I'm running off the fumes of that high of the event this past weekend. And again, I'm just really grateful. And, there was a lot at stake. It was a $500,000 event to put on. There were people flying in from all over the world. The biggest YouTube creators in the Pokemon space who've been in this for over a decade were coming and trusting me to put on a good show for them and also to keep them safe. There were going to be a lot of kids there, and to make sure that they had things to do was really important to me, and also for their parents' sake. And there were a lot of sponsors and vendors and exhibitors who were there who were bringing, there were individual cards that were there on display that were millions of dollars. And these companies were really important to me because I knew that if we could impress them, we could potentially build longer-term relationships with them, not just with Card Party, but even with just myself and my own brand. And the response from everybody, from attendee to creator to vendor to sponsor, has just been over the moon. One of my favorite moments after the event was I spoke with this veteran conference goer or exposition goer. His name is Gem Mint Pokemon, and he's been in the space for, almost ever since Pokemon was created in 1999 here in the U.S., as a card game at least. And he just said this was the most incredibly organized, fun, most exciting event the community has ever had, just ever. And that brought me to tears. I admire this person. I respect him. and he's a great guy. And to hear him say that just right in front of me, to me, right after this event just meant the world to me because I highly respected his opinion. Not only that, I got to meet the president of several companies, including Ultra Pro. If you've heard of Ultra Pro, if you've probably been in sports or sport collecting, the president of Ultra Pro came to Card Party, and I got to meet him, and he had some really amazing impressions of the event, and said, "Hey, after the event, let's talk," which is always exciting. There were some vendors there who were a little skeptical of this because it wasn't the traditional event that they were used to going to. But you know what? Sometimes you have to break the mold. Sometimes you have to try something a little different. So that's exactly what we did. Instead of what traditionally happens, which is one giant expo hall, and there's maybe a activity stage on the side where panels are happening sort of simultaneously, we decided to separate the different spaces. So there was an expo hall, the ballroom of the Marriott in Anaheim, California. One of the main ballrooms was used as the expo hall where there were vendors and there was a stage there, but it was not the center of attention like at these other events. There were other rooms. One of the other rooms was sort of the what we call the activity room, where the meet and greets were happening, and that's where a lot of the celebrities in the space were set up with a table, and there were stanchions where the lines, both VIP and general admission ticket, could stand to get autographs from a lot of these people who are watched every day by this community. In the same room was the tournament that was being held for the game, because these Pokemon cards were in fact created specifically for playing the game. And over time, it's just been something that people have then started to collect. And then there were also kid activity rooms. One was sort of like for more smaller kids, toddlers, with puzzles and games and stuff that people could play with. But then the other room was more of a classroom style room where we focused on artwork. And artwork is a major component of Pokemon. And we hired a few people, artists in the community, to go and sort of lead sessions there and workshops and teach people. And, we had a little art gallery set up where kids and adults who were creating things could pin up their artwork. And so over the course of the entire event, this wall just continued to get more and more artwork from the community within it, which was amazing. Because it was in a hotel, there was a lot of lobby space where just everybody was hanging out and trading, and kids were on the floor, and there were a lot of tables and a lot of discussions happening. Probably my favorite thing about the event was seeing the creators, these people, these YouTubers who spend all their time on a screen or on a camera in person with their fans. And we had a hospitality room set up for the creators. It was a space for them to escape in case they wanted to get away from the crowds or just kind of hang out just as a group without any other people bothering them. And every time I went in there to check on the creators, it was empty. They were always on the floor interacting with fans, and it just really speaks to the quality of the kind of people in this community who are really there for the fans and to meet and greet with others. Another room that was at this event was the main stage, and this was very new to this sort of space. If you've ever been to business events like Social Media Marketing World or Craft and Commerce or Traffic and Conversion Summit, the major component of these kinds of events are the stage work, the main stage, the keynotes. Now, there's not keynotes in the world of Pokemon, but I wanted to bring a main stage presence to this, one where the entire group can come together and listen to panels with some of their favorite creators, play games, Price is Right style, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. And it was fun, and it was interactive, and I got to speak, and I think people were very impressed with how well sort of crafted my talks were. And, honestly, the years of experience, over a decade experience speaking on stage, definitely helped with that. And the ability to host a panel with these creators and use my interview skills from decade plus of podcasting and thousands of episodes of podcasting really came into play. And the interaction with the audience and playing games. On Saturday morning of this 3-day event, we brought over 1,000 people into the main stage room. And on the stage was myself and an adjudicator, his name was Michael, from the Guinness World Records. And we actually, together as a community, set a world record, the most people to open trading card packages simultaneously. So every person, single-filed, walked in, was handed a pack of Pokemon, told not to open it yet until instructed to do so. We had to find stewards, which were people that were not going to be participating in this record, but were sort of standing on the side in charge of 50 people at a time to make sure they did it correctly, because the adjudicator obviously couldn't keep an eye out on everybody individually. And it was just a really fun, experience. It was magical. We all celebrated. I remember when Michael, after we set this record, he handed me the plaque, the world record plaque that you see everywhere on YouTube. It's like we finally got one. And I really made sure to tell everybody that this was ours. This was not mine. This was Card Party. My name is not it. My channel's name is on it, but this was something that we all took part in together. And every single person in that room now had something they could say to bring back home that they didn't have before, something that would make them feel special, like they belong to something. And I want to give credit to Chris Gillibo, which is where I got the idea from, to do a world record at my event. His event, which he used to hold back in Portland back in the day, called World Domination Summit. They broke records quite often, from the longest chain of floating river tube people. That's not the right way to say it, but people on a river on float tubes all holding hands and kind of floating down the river. That was one. I think they broke one where they had the most number of people in a space doing yoga. And then another year they had the most people eating bed and breakfast or something like that, which was interesting. And every time that event ended, I always heard about the world record, even though the event was not about the world record. It was a community building experience. And at Card Party, somebody even mentioned it felt like an initiation into the community. It's like something that we could all share in and bond over. We ended up creating and printing out cards. It couldn't be a Card Party without cards, but we had our Card Party cards created, about 9 of them, that you could find and collect while you were at the event. You got one for attending, the VIPs got one, but if you broke the world record with us, you got a world record card that was designed. And guess who it was designed by? Members of the community. And we featured their names on these cards. So everything we could do, all these little touches and details, were all about community. And I know that word gets thrown around quite often, but honestly, when you truly focus on making connections and creating a safe space for people to come together, it is absolutely like magic. We were able to sell hundreds of tickets for 2024 already, and we haven't even selected the time, date, or place yet. People want to come back that much. Some of the moments that also touched me were when people were leaving, they were saying goodbye to the friends that they made, people that they had never met before but had become best friends with over the course of the couple days, and who said they were going to stay in contact with each other, who said that they were going to fly to the Card Party Generation 2 together. And that's what we're calling it, Card Party Gen 2. It goes along with the sort of Pokemon canon. We had first edition and then Gen 2 and then Gen 3. And it was a lot of fun. There was one moment, though, that actually there were a couple magical moments for me. We hired a company, shout out to Eric, you know who you are, a company that edited a video for us that was edited the same day and played then at the event. And I had seen that at events before, like at Social Media Marketing World and other events where, you're still at the event, but you're seeing video footage of yourself and the attendees and everything that was happening at the event you're at. You don't have to wait weeks. It's there, even just being played on stage at the event. And so I hired a person to come in on Friday and film on Saturday as well and edit a video quickly so that we could play it on Saturday evening. And I had a song made. Big shout out to Music Radio Creative. Isabella had such a quick turnaround for a song that I wrote the lyrics for in the style of sort of Blink-182 or Simple Plan, that was catchy, that went along with this video. And after the video ended, I just was speechless. I was in tears. I think it was overwhelmed from just how smooth everything was going, to the stress of putting it all together, to just seeing it come to life and seeing the smiles and the cheers and the joy that was, in all ages that were there. And I just had gotten a standing ovation at that moment, which was just incredible. I think people really saw how much work the team and I put into this. Also, shout out to the entire staff that helped this, and of course, my assistant, Jessica, who, oh my gosh, she was there for me so many times when I was just freaking out. Thank you, Jess. But the team over at Podcast Movement, they're my partners in putting on this event, and they did a tremendous job taking the organization that happens at business events, but me injecting the creativity and the just fun into it. Not that Podcast Movement or other events like that aren't fun, but you know what I mean, like the Pokemon aspect to it. So that was a magical moment that night that I played that video in front of everybody, and it just brought me to tears. And then another night, we played a little game, and this game was something that turned out to be historical in that moment, because the way it worked was we randomly selected members of the audience to come up on stage, 4 people, and they did what was called a pack battle. Now, a pack of Pokemon cards, you open it up and there are cards inside, but the cards have different value or worth. So a pack battle is opening a card or a pack of cards along with somebody else who has a pack of cards and seeing which pack has the most valuable card. And whoever has the most valuable card in their pack wins that battle. So we had 4 people on stage, 2 battles to then find out who was going to go head-to-head in the finals. And in the finals was this adult named Abe, and this kid who was he must have been like 12 or 13. And it was interesting because the adult Abe, he went first. He picked a pack, and these were like the original packs of Pokemon, so it was a huge deal, and the cards were very expensive. The other packs that they were opening were sort of more modern. This was a vintage pack that they were battling, and they each got to open one. So Abe just randomly selected one. He opened it, and he pulled the number 2 card in the set. It's called the Blastoise, which is a Pokemon character, an evolved form of Squirtle, and it was an extremely valuable card. I mean, there was only one card in the entire set that could beat that card, and it was the Charizard, which is the fire-breathing dragon Pokemon. And the chances that in the random pack that this kid selected was the Charizard was very slim. And there was a moment where we were just leading up to it. The tension was building. The audio guy did a great job of adding some sort of tense music. And then all of a sudden, he hit the Charizard. And man, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it right now. But the room exploded. It absolutely exploded. And we were all yelling. We couldn't believe it. The kid was shaking in disbelief. And Abe was celebrating with him because he was just a great sport. The entire room couldn't believe it. And so many people actually did record it. And I have quite a bit of footage of it, actually. And I also I think I have some like really good footage of it somewhere, but I don't think it's in our hands yet. But anyway, it was just, I mean, we couldn't have written that better. And to have that work out in the way it did, with the random selections, with the random grabbing of packs, and to have it be the number 2 followed by the number 1, it was just poetic. And I think it really just was I know some of us don't believe in these kinds of divine intervention type of things or these higher beings, but I mean, he was definitely playing a role that night because, my gosh, there was just no way that would ever happen otherwise, it seems. I mean, yes, it was random and it was by chance, but just all the circumstances in front of 1,000 people, it was magic. It was absolute magic. And that's what happens when you bring your community together, right? You might not always pull a Charizard when you need to, but when you bring people together who speak a common language, who could nerd out about a card like that and scream and yell and feel these feelings when most of the other world wouldn't even care at all, that's how you know you're bringing the right people together. And when you have the sponsors go up to you after and say, Pat, whatever you do for year 2, we are all in. When you have attendees already booking their 2024 tickets without even knowing where it is, when you have people say it was probably the best time they've ever had in their life, when you've had people say it was the best bonding experience that they've had with their kids, then you know you've done something right. So I'm very proud. And I'm very proud of myself. I think it's important that after you accomplish something, you be proud of yourself. I am so proud of myself. So proud of myself. But I also know I couldn't have done this alone. Every single person there, the team, and every ticket sold. I mean, we ended up selling 2,500 tickets. I mean, 500 tickets came in after the event started. It was starting to, the word was starting to spread. So it was incredible. Thank you for following this journey. I may talk about Card Party again in the future, but I know that there was a lot of talk about it leading up to this point, and what a relief. Gen 2 next year. Card.party if you want to check it out. And I did see some people who did come from the SPI world there, which was amazing. They brought their kids. It was absolutely incredible. So thank you so much if you did come up to me and say hello, or if you got an autograph. Community, everybody. It's a magical thing. Peace out. Take care. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Thank you so much for listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm your host, Pat Flynn. Sound editing by Duncan Brown. Our senior producer is David Grabowski, and our executive producer is Matt Gartland. The Smart Passive Income podcast is a production of SPI Media and a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network. Catch you next week. Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow. Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place: recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio quality audio and high resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature: Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click. Hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it. Look, I get it. You want to grow your business, but trying to sell to hundreds or even thousands of people gets very exhausting very fast. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? ScoreApp helps you sell to more people without adding more to your plate. You build a quiz or assessment that your audience actually wants to take. Then they answer a few quick questions and get a personalized result right away. It shows them where they're at and what they need to do next and how you can help. And you build huge amounts of trust before you make even a single offer. No hard sell, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI. All you have to do is just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI.